It was just another Tuesday afternoon, a day like any other, until the moment that changed my life forever. I sat in my old Ford pickup outside Brookstone Elementary, keeping my usual watch for my daughter, Emily. She was 7, full of light and spirit despite being diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. Her walker, a bright purple frame decorated with stickers of her favorite animals, helped her navigate the world with more bravery than most grown men I know. Our routine was simple. I parked a little ways off from the front of the school, giving Emily her independence, but always close enough to intervene if needed. After we lost her mother last year to cancer, it became just the two of us facing the world together. She never let her condition dull her shine. She was excited about life, about her art projects, about the friends she was making. I was just the dad trying to keep up. That afternoon, I spotted her, making her way through the crowd of kids pouring out of the building. She smiled when she saw me, and I could tell she was eager to show me something, a drawing most likely. But then my attention shifted to a black SUV parked illegally right in front of the school, blocking part of the sidewalk. The woman inside was yelling into her phone, her face flushed and twisted with anger. I knew who she was immediately. Margaret Caldwell. She was the self-important president of the local HOA, notorious for harassing anyone she decided was out of line. The neighbors called her Mad Maggie when she wasn't around. Always on the hunt for violations, always ready with a fine notice or a snide comment. As Emily carefully maneuvered around the obstructing SUV, her walker lightly tapped against its gleaming bumper. It wasn't hard enough to leave a mark, just a gentle bump as she squeezed past the oversized vehicle. But that was enough for Margaret. The SUV door flung open with such force it nearly clipped Emily. Margaret stormed out, red-faced, shouting, "What do you think you're doing, you little brat?" Her voice was loud enough to stop other parents in their tracks. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to." Emily's voice trembled, her eyes wide. "You scratched my car. Do you even know how much this vehicle costs?" Margaret bellowed, stepping closer, looming over my daughter like a vulture. I was out of my truck and moving fast, pushing through the crowd, shouting for her to back off. I wasn't even 20 feet away when Margaret reached into her designer purse and pulled out a small black handgun. Time froze. My instincts kicked in, my heart pounding so hard I thought my chest would burst. "Hey!" I roared. "Put that down!" Some parents screamed. Emily tried to back away, but her walker snagged on the curb. Margaret's eyes flashed with fury. "This will teach you to respect other people's property." Whether she meant to pull the trigger or not, I'll never know. But the gun fired. The crack of the shot echoed across the schoolyard. I reached Emily just as she collapsed, blood seeping through the fabric of her t-shirt. The bullet had grazed her Shidera shallow wound, thank God, but there was still so much blood. "Daddy," she gasped, her little hand clutching at mine. "The lady shot me." Margaret stood frozen, staring at the gun like she didn't believe what she'd done. Then, like the coward she was, she dropped the weapon and sprinted to her SUV, tearing away before anyone could stop her. "Call 911. I screamed, pressing my jacket against Emily's wound, my hands shaking. "Get her license plate." The next few hours blurred into chaos. Sirens, flashing lights, the ambulance ride, the emergency room. Emily clutched my hand the whole time, so brave, barely crying as the doctors worked to clean and stitch the wound. Officer Daniel Price showed up at the hospital. I told him everything, but I could tell right away things weren't going to be simple. "We've already brought Mrs. Caldwell in for questioning," he said, his tone hesitant. "But her husband, Charles Caldwell, is well connected. Good friends with the police chief. She shot a 7-year-old girl who uses a walker," I snapped. "How the hell is that an accident?" Officer Price shifted uncomfortably. "She claims she felt threatened when your daughter damaged her vehicle. There will be an investigation." "There are 20 witnesses," I said. "And the school has cameras. We'll review the footage," he promised, but his eyes told me not to hold my breath. When we got home, Emily wouldn't let go of my hand. "Is the angry lady going to come back?" she whispered as I tucked her into bed. "No, sweetheart," I said, kissing her forehead. "I won't let her hurt you again." But the next morning, Margaret was out on the street, walking her poodle like nothing had happened. No bail, no charges. Just walking free. Neighbors started whispering. "My buddy Joe came to my door that afternoon. Thought you should know," he said quietly. Margaret's telling everyone Emily attacked her. Claims she was defending herself. Some folks are buying it. You know how much sway the Caldwells have around here. It was like a punch to the gut. Emily, my sweet, kind-hearted daughter, being painted as the aggressor. Joe put a hand on my shoulder. I know your background, he said. Army Ranger, right? 6 years. I nodded. 2 deployments. Then you know sometimes you have to fight smart, not hard, Joe said. People like Margaret always have skeletons. You just have to know where to look. He was right. That night, after Emily fell asleep, I started digging. I pulled court records, HOA documents, anything I could find. Margaret had been sued 3 times for harassment by former neighbors, but all the cases were dropped before trial. And the HOA financials showed suspicious administrative expenses coinciding with her lavish vacations. Then there was the gun permit. Denied twice before approval suddenly came through after Charles Caldwell's bank financed the police chief's vacation home. The more I uncovered, the worse it smelled. I wasn't alone. The school principal called to say parents were organizing support for Emily. The security footage was clear. Margaret had pulled the gun first. But the local news barely covered it, glossing over details to avoid making the Caldwells look bad. A week after the shooting, Margaret hosted an emergency HOA meeting. I wasn't invited, but Joe went and recorded the whole thing. Margaret ranted about unsafe pickup areas and special needs children creating hazards. When another parent pushed back, Charles threatened her with fines for code violations. But Margaret's biggest mistake was turning the incident into an HOA issue. That gave me legal grounds to request their communications. I pored over emails and found her referring to Emily as that crippled girl, blaming her for bringing down property values. I took everything to Detective Rachel Simmons, who replaced Officer Price after I filed a complaint. She listened carefully, eyes hardening as I laid out the evidence. This won't be easy, she said. But I'll make sure this doesn't get buried. 3 days later, Margaret was arrested again, this time for felony assault with a deadly weapon, illegal firearm possession, and misappropriation of HOA funds. The evidence was too damning to ignore. The hardest part was helping Emily heal, not just physically but emotionally. Nightmares haunted her. She was afraid to go outside, afraid to go back to school. But little by little, with the support of neighbors, teachers, and friends, she began to smile again. 2 months later, Margaret's trial began. Her lawyer spun tales about fear and self-defense, but the jury saw the truth. The doctored gun, the emails, the history of harassment, all of it painted a clear picture. When Emily testified, my heart swelled with pride. She sat tall, voice steady, as she told the court, I didn't mean to bump her car. I said sorry, but she got angry and pulled out a gun. I was scared and tried to get away, but my walker got stuck. The jury deliberated for just 3 hours before finding Margaret guilty on all charges. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Charles Caldwell sold their house and left town in disgrace. Our neighborhood changed after that. Joe was elected HOA president, and new rules against harassment were put in place. The school added better security, and the community came together in ways I never thought possible. Emily still bears the scar on her shoulder, a thin white line, but she calls it her superhero mark. And she's right. It's a reminder of how strong she is and how we stood together against injustice. As we sat on the porch one evening, Emily asked, Daddy, do you think bad people can change? Some can, I answered, if they really want to. But what matters most is that good people stand up for what's right. That's how we make the world better. She smiled and leaned against me, her little hand holding mine. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, hope.